This is Export, and today we are reviewing the Gigabyte B550m DS3H motherboard and see if it's better than the Pro4 from ASRock. In the box with the motherboard, you find two SATA cables, various documentation, the board itself, and an I/O shield. So this is a sub 100 USD motherboard, and for that price you do have to make some compromises, but let's take a look at what features this board has. So it has what Gigabyte calls a 5+ 3-phase VRM, which is plenty good enough for a 6-core and probably an 8-core. The heatsink is small, but it does have a bit of surface area, which should aid heat dissipation. It appears to also be made for use with a heat pipe, although this board has no heat pipes, so yeah, it's probably leftover parts. I don't know. Moving on to the bottom of the board, we have a lot of headers. Starting from the left, we have a front panel audio header, followed by one RGB LED header and one addressable RGB header. Then we find one USB 2.0 header next to a USB 3.2 header. Then we have the front panel header for the power reset switch and so on. Above that, we find a clear CMOS jumper. This is a good position and means you can hook up your reset switch to it if you're doing some memory overclocking or something. Next to the front panel headers, we find a fan header and a Q flash button. This board does come with BIOS flashback, a very handy feature in case your board doesn't come with a Zen 3 compatible BIOS, which this board didn't. One of the most asked questions on my video on the B550m Pro4 was how many fan headers that board had. So that board had 6 fan headers. This board cuts that in half. We have one CPU fan header and 2 system fan headers. It's a bit on the low side, but it is to be expected given the price point, I suppose. Although for $20 more, you do get twice as many fan headers on the Pro4. This board also has 4 vertical SATA connectors, and these are placed in a very unfortunate location. The issue is when installing a large GPU, the SATA cables will interfere with the GPU. This happened with a dual slot GPU and a triple slot GPU that I tried. So it was a major issue with my Aorus 5700 XT. You can use cables with a 90-degree SATA connector to get around this issue, but my GPU covered 3 of the 4 onboard connectors, and you only get one cable with an angle connector with the board, so I had to get another one to hook up all the discs. Moving further up the board, we have a 24-pin ATX power connector and yet another RGB and adjustable RGB header. There are a total of 5 LED headers on this board, the 4 along the edges, and there's another one close to the CPU socket for some of the stock AMD CPU coolers. It would have been nice if they had cut it down to like 2 LED headers and given you some more fan headers instead, but I guess that wasn't a priority. We get 4 DDR4 DIMM slots, and I was able to get my dominators to work at 4400 MHz with the R5 3600 on this board. That's 4400 MHz DDR4 memory. This is slightly lower than the 4600 MHz I was able to achieve on the B450M Gaming Plus from MSI, but that was a dual slot board, and 4400 MHz it's still way above what you need for Ryzen CPUs, including the 5000 series. We have 2 M.2 slots. The top one supports PciE 4.0 with 4 lanes, and the lower is PciE 3.0 with 2 lanes, and none of them has a heatsink. The lower one has the same bandwidth limitation as the Pro4, which is also only 2 3.0 lanes. We also find 2 full-length PciE slots. The top one is PciE 4.0 by 16, and the lower one is PciE 3.0 by 4, which is 4 lanes, that is. In addition to that, there is a PciE 3.01 slot, 1 lane between these full-length ones, but both of the lower slots are useless for me when using a large GPU such as the Aorus 5700 XT, because it covers up both these slots. Another issue with the main PciE slot placement is if you're using an M.2 case such as the Node 804, the GPU gets placed very close to the bottom of the case, which will limit available airflow. Let's move on to the rear I/O. Here we find a PS2 port and 2 USB 2.0 ports, a DVI-D connector and an HDMI port, 2 USB 3.2 ports, a Gigabyte Ethernet port, and yet another 2 USB 2.0 port next to another 2 USB 3.2 ports, where the white one is for BIOS flashback. Then we have 3 audio ports hooked up to a Realtek LAC887. There is no USB Type-C at all on this board, no internal header and no USB-C on the rear I/O. So if that's important to you, take a look at the Pro4 from ASRock or other alternatives. Now let's take a look at how the audio solution performs. These results indicate that the audio solution is pretty poor on this board, and it is to be expected as it has the lowest end audio chip of all these boards, and it actually performs worse than the B350 Tomahawk, but even that has a higher end audio chip, so it is to be expected. The Pro4 is much better on the audio front, which is at least partially due to the better audio chip. It uses an ALC 1200. Even so, the audio does at least work, so you can get by with it, but an external DAC would give you much better audio on another board. And I did a listening test. I played some Battlefield 5 on the B550m DS3H and the C490 Elite AC with the HyperX Cloud Pro headset or something like that. And the C490 Elite AC had noticeably better audio. And also on the B550m DS3H, I had to up the audio to almost 100%, whereas on the C490 I could keep it at around 30 to 40%, or the audio level around 30-40. So let's move on to network performance. This board has a Gigabyte exclusive version of the Realtek RTL8118 LAN chip, and the performance is actually good. It's good. Got nothing bad to say here about the networking. It's good. There is no Wi-Fi though, but I think there is a version with Wi-Fi, so if that's important to you, maybe grab that or another board. There are some more good points about this board, and it's not the board, it's the BIOS. With the latest BIOS release, you can use this board with all Ryzen CPUs from the 1000 series to the 5000 series. A very big thumbs up for that. In addition, Gigabyte has added the option to raise the PBO offset beyond the official 200 MHz. With 3000 and 5000 series CPUs. This will allow your 3600 to boost to, for example, 4.6 or beyond, depending on your silicon quality. If you want to know the VRM performance of this board and the Pro4, you should probably check out Hardware Unboxed video. They make a VRM comparison better than what I can do. So if that's something you care about or are curious about, then do check out their video because it's much better than what I can do. So is it better than the B550m Pro4 from ASRock? Well, for the B550m DS3H, its pro points are it's less than 100 USD, it works with every generation Ryzen CPU, and you can adjust the PBO offset beyond the 200 MHz official limit, and the RGB software is not complete garbage. The Polychrome software for the ASRock board is complete garbage in my opinion. It's a good thing that you can adjust the RGB in the BIOS on the ASRock boards because their software is horrendous. It will not run on most of my systems, and it's just it's garbage. Cons are the board layouts, only 3 fan headers and poor audio. For the B550m Pro4, its pro points are VRM runs cooler. It has an M.2 heatsink. It has 10 USB 3.2 ports, one of which is a Type-C. And it has 6 USB 2.0 ports, that's internal and external. It has a good board layout, apart from the clear CMOS jumper, which is in a very non-optimal location. It has decent audio and 6 fan headers, and the cons compared to the DS3H are that it only works with Ryzen 3000 and 5000, and the PBO offset is max 200 MHz, which is the official limit. If you're buying a new board, and you're buying a new CPU, chances are you are going with a 3000 or 5000 series CPU. And even if you can boost the PBO beyond 200 MHz, it won't make that big of a difference because it's only in very lightly threaded loads that you will see those boost speeds. When playing Battlefield 5, for instance, the 5600X settles at like 4.6 GHz on both the B550 boards, both the DS3H and the Pro4. So it's not that important, but it's a nice option to have on the DS3H. All in all, I do think the B550 Pro4 is a better board, and it would be my choice. It's 20 USD more expensive, so if you really need to keep the cost down, I guess the DS3H is okay, but it does not get my recommendation, mainly due to the layout and the fact that the Pro4 is so close in price The DS3H is not a bad board, but for around 20 USD more, the Pro4 is better. And that's pretty much it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching, and farewell.